Hi, and welcome to the 5 Minute Travel Teacher. This episode is on the new CDC testing rule, which goes into effect on January 26th. My name is Dawn Kidd, and I am the owner of Kidd Travel along with my husband, Mark. And I have been a teacher for over 25 years, and I'm trying to bring that experience into the travel agent world for a more unique perspective. So let's take a look at this new order. Beginning on January 26th of 2021, all passengers on flights that are coming into the United States from a foreign country must have a negative COVID test no more than 3 days before departure. That is independent of your citizenship, whether you're a US citizen or a British citizen, doesn't matter. This order applies to all passengers 2 years old and older. U.S. territories, however, are not subject to this requirement. So if you go to Puerto Rico or you go to Guam or you go to the U.S. Virgin Islands, it does not apply. This, of course, is going to have some implications for people's vacations. So what you need is you do need to have a test performed in the foreign country, and it must be verifiable. And that means you need to have an official paper or an electronic version, which you will be given by the lab, and it must be presented to the airline at the time of boarding. And what type of test do you need? Please remember that there are basically three different types of tests. You have the rapid test, which is also referred to as the antigen test. You have the PCR test, which is the long test that takes 2 or 3 days. And you have the antibody test. The antibody test is not appropriate for this situation because they are looking for current infections. Antibody test shows that you may have had it in the past. The antigen test is all that is necessary for it. The PCR test is even more thorough and even more positive, so that should be fine as well. So questions come up. What if I don't want to test? What if I can't test? Sorry, none of those are going to be an option. If you do not have the test, you will be denied boarding to any commercial or independent airline. It is just not an option right now. And of course, the next question is, what if I test positive? Well, essentially, that doesn't really change on January 26th. If you knowingly had COVID and jumped on an airplane, there would be consequences. It's not ethical either. And this just basically reinforces those ethics that you don't take an illness that can be deadly for some onto an airplane. You're going to be required to quarantine exactly as you would have been beforehand. And what you want to think about is, do you have the financial means to stay for an extra 10 days? It's really, or 14 days, depending on the country. If you don't have the financial means to whip out a credit card and do that, do you have insurance? If you do not have travel protection insurance, it may be something that you want to consider because that would certainly help you out in this situation. And I can answer more questions about that if you have them. So let's take a look at this new CDC order and some of the other scenarios that may come up. What if you have tested positive in the last 3 months and you've recovered? You can bypass this testing requirement with a doctor's orders, would have to be on official letterhead, etc., showing that you had a positive test, the date on which you had the positive test, and of course that you are now considered free of COVID. You won't be able to test because theoretically the test could test positive and it doesn't mean that you have an active infection. What about the vaccine? Well, at this moment, they are not taking that. If I were to place a bet on it, I would say eventually, yes, that is what is going to happen. But with less than 5% of the population vaccinated at the time of this recording, it's just not secure enough. Another question that has come up, what if your flight gets delayed by, say, 12 hours and that pushes you beyond the 3 days? Yeah, that could cause you some hiccups. So um, please consult with the lab that you have it done at. And because they are the rapid results, you should have your test in 1 to 2 days, sometimes same day. So try to find that sweet spot. And you definitely want to arrange that COVID test when you get in. So if you're staying, let's say, in Cancun for 7 days, then the first day there, go ahead and make your appointment. Make sure that you're not gone on an excursion that day or whatever. That you go, you have your test done, and it will take minutes, I'm sure. The other question comes up, and this is where things could get a little tricky. What if your part of your party tests positive and the other part tests negative? That is going to be up to you. Certainly, if you were a family and mom tested positive and dad and the kids tested negative, dad could take the kids home. What if mom and dad test positive and the kids do not? Then certainly the kids would be staying with you. So, okay, now what do we do? We've got a vacation booked. We're sort of panicking. I don't know about getting a test. Folks, this is why you have a travel agent. If you're doing this on your own, it can get tricky. In the Caribbean, Mexico, Central American region, right now, many of the all inclusives, and I can't say all, but many of them are setting up on site testing at the resort. And many of the major brands are doing it for free. So, really, it's an inconvenience of a couple of minutes during the day. And as long as you have practiced your social distancing and so forth, you should be fine. When you are on different vacations like Europe, Asia, Africa, etc., this could get a little bit trickier because you don't have one centralized place for all of your activities and your accommodations. This right here, again, is why you have a travel agent. As things are developing, um, more information will come out. This order is less than a week old. And certainly, we all know that this is the new normal. This is the way things are going to go. And while 6 months from now, 12 months from now, things are going to look very different in this world, and we're all going to be a lot happier, there are going to be things that will stick around from this pandemic, and making sure that you are safe to travel is going to be one of those. So this order will be a slight inconvenience, and it's something we're going to have to deal with. So if you have any questions about this, please feel free to contact me. My name again is Dawn Kidd, and this is Kid Travel Dream Vacations. And you can get in touch with me at the information there on the screen. I would be more than happy to answer questions for you, whether you have booked with us or not, and I will do my best to take care of you. Thank you. Have a good evening.